In this video I'm going to review the Olympus 14-42 Mark II-R kit lens, and before you immediately switch off and think, oh well that's not for me, I'm not interested in that lens, I recommend you watch the video, because you might learn some stuff about lenses you might not know that relate to all lenses, whether it's this Olympus or whether it's any lens that you're looking to buy or have. You might learn some interesting facts about lenses. What I intend to do is have a wander around the Arboretum and take some shots with this lens, and if I find a nice composition I'll compare the shots with this lens with an identical shot using my 12-40 Pro lens and just see what the difference is. I'm going to use this lens as this EPL5 camera, which is the kit lens that came with this camera, and I'll also review this camera at a later date and obviously give you an idea of what this camera can do. Obviously you'll see that on this video from this lens, but hopefully you'll get a view of both. The lens is a 14-42, which is a 28-84 in full frame terms, and at its wideness it has a f3.5 aperture, and at its narrowest it has f5.6. Its field of view is 75 degrees at 14mm and 29 degrees at 42, which is all stats, but it can be interesting because if you're comparing a lens that's 14mm at its widest, it'd be interesting to know if that other lens you're comparing it with is 75 degrees, because they might alter, despite what the manufacturer says. 75 degrees might not be 14 on another manufacturer or another lens maker, so it's well worth knowing those sorts of information. It has 7 blades on the aperture ring, which because it's a odd number, it gives you 14 lines for a starburst if you take night photos, as opposed to an even number which only provides the even number of lines. The lens itself is fully plastic, and it has a plastic mount, which makes it feel cheap. It makes it feel super light. In fact, it's 113 grams and it's only 50mm by 50mm. So for a kit lens of a 14-42 28-84 in the full frame, it's super small and super light, and has a 37mm filter thread. It's super light and super cheap. You can get these for roughly between £50 and £100. On MPB I think they're just under £100, which, you know, for a kit lens is fantastically cheap if you're interested in buying a second-hand lens. The lens has 8 elements in 7 groups, which I know is boring, but the more groups you have and the less space between your lenses, the better or the sharper your lens is going to be. But it's also got 3 aspherical lenses which are used for lens correction, sort of things like chromatic aberration and lens flare. That's what aspherical lenses is used for as well. So it's all in all, despite it being a super cheap lens, it's not bad quality. It's got some things going for it. What I'm going to do is have a wander around the Arboretum where I am now, take a few shots, and I'll show you what those shots look like, get a feel for what this lens is it any good, or is it worth buying? I've got the bandstand behind me, and I'll take a picture of the bandstand because in the railings and the sides it's got lots and lots of details that hopefully I can pick out using this lens and try to see what the quality of the picture is. So I'm just taking a picture of the bandstand now and have a look to see what this comes out like. This Stonehenge thing in the middle of the lake always looks intriguing to me, but I've never really got a satisfactory shot of it. Maybe once again because it's bland and grey and there's no real life, there's nothing interesting about it, but I'll give it a go with this camera, see if I can get a shot with this camera and see what it comes out like. What I've noticed here is the sort of folly in the middle of the lake there, and then I've also got the line going through the lake there, so I'm going to try and get that shot, show you what that looks like. Hopefully it comes out okay. Nice and colourful blues and greens, and hopefully I can bring those to life in the picture. For this shot, I've just come out of the park and I'm looking back towards the entrance to the park, and I like the fact that there's this lamp there and there's the sign of the street that's just beside the park, and I'm hoping that's going to give me enough detail to be able to take this shot and do a comparison with the kit lens and the 12 to 40 Pro lens I have with my Olympus camera that I'm recording this video on. I've gone 1/30 of the second, f5.6 and ISO 200 for this shot. So I'll take this shot, I'll switch lenses and I'll take this shot again exactly the same focal length and compare the two pictures when I get back. Here I have the two pictures of the lamp side by side, and in truth neither of the pictures are particularly sharp, and that might be to do with my focusing. But what you can see quite obvious is the chromatic aberration at the top left hand side where the sunlight's hitting the trees, especially on the 1442 lens. And if I zoom in, you can see quite clearly there's blues and there's pinks on the branches, whereas on the 12 to 40 lens, if I zoom into this, there's nothing. It's completely clear, and the colours are better and more defined on the 12 to 14 lens, the 1442. All in all though, both lenses have provided a reasonably nice image, that it's not too bad, and in truth the images are probably perfectly well suited to Instagram, etc. So in truth they're both very good lenses, but obviously you pay an extra £300 to have that chromatic aberration removed. Apart from that, they're fairly similar lenses, there's not much between them. Thanks very much for watching the video, and in truth the lens itself is a really good value cheap lens. If you don't want to spend a lot of money and you've got a micro four thirds camera and you're looking for a super cheap lens that does the job, and you're not too bothered about the chromatic aberration and one or two other small things, then my recommendation is definitely buy it. For the price, it's definitely worth having in your kit bag as an easy use cheap lens. Once again, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've learned something from the video, I hope it's been informative, and I hope it's helped you to make a decision on buying these lenses. Thanks very much, and see you in the next one. Cheerio!